Hi everyone, welcome to Watch It Played. My name is Rodney Smith and we're here at GTS Distributions Come and Play Day event in Atlanta 2016. I'm not alone. I have Jared Miller with me from CMON Games. Jared, you brought something with you to show, I think?
I did.
Good.
I brought, that would be weird. I brought nothing. I brought Unusual Suspects, which is a new game coming out from us by Paulo Mori. And it is a fun party game.
Tell me about it. Like, what's the theme here? What's the setting?
Okay, so there has been a crime,
Okay.
a terrible crime,
Right.
or not so terrible. I mean, it's whatever's up to you.
Sure.
And so there was a witness to this crime, and there's an odd thing about this witness, though. They can't just.
I'm planning on being the witness in
Okay.
this example.
So it's good. So there's an
something odd
odd thing.
about me.
There's something odd about Rodney.
Okay.
He's not a very good witness in the sense he can't say like, oh, they were wearing this and they looked exactly like this, because we have this lineup here of these suspects.
Right. So these are some people we've narrowed it down to. Some
Right.
Suspects. Okay.
So essentially, the detectives, everyone who's playing that's not you. So everyone's gonna need their own Rodney for this game. So it's gonna, so everyone who's playing that's not the witness are the detectives, and we've managed to narrow it down to these 12 suspects.
Right.
So we bring you in.
Yes.
But the problem with the witness is they can only comment yes or no on things that are about the suspect's personality.
So I have like an intimate knowledge of their likes, dislikes,
Yeah,
their interests.
it's like your weird
and-
superpower, right? It's like,
But I can't remember their face. at
No,
all.
it's like we could be like, it would be really easy if we said, do they have blue hair?
Yeah,
and
sure.
you could be like, oh yes, but no. It's just like, do they watch TV? I mean, we'll get to some of those, but it's just very little things like that that actually kind of make you tell a story
Yes.
about these characters,
Yep.
and that's how the detectives have to figure it out.
I'd like to say I'm not the only weird person at this table either, because the detectives have their own little quirks. Because
Right.
you guys don't have sort of free will to ask anything you want.
Exactly.
You have a deck of cards that will provide the questions. Right?
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
maybe what we could do is we'll go to the table here and we'll sort of set up what I would do as the witness in a game,
Yeah.
and then we kind of show how that works. Does that
Yeah,
sound good?
I would say that's probably the easiest way to go about
Let's do it.
figuring this out.
So as we said, I'm going to be the witness in this scenario. So I have this deck of, I think it's about 12 cards here or so, right? And we'll just show everyone. These will identify who the thief is, right? So normally this would be shuffled up, and I wouldn't show anyone,
Right.
what I've got. And I'm not going to show our audience here, right? But I would be looking at one of these, and this would tell me which one of these characters is the thief that I
Yes.
witnessed commit the crime, all right? So I'll just put that back on top. I also have this yes and no answer
Yes.
cards, right? And we have the score sheet here, so which
Yeah.
we can talk about in a
Yeah,
moment.
we'll talk about that.
So I'm gonna, without anyone sort of seeing my face, I'm gonna look at everybody, but I'm gonna focus in on the actual thief, so I have a little sense of what they look like here, what they're wearing, maybe are they smiling, are they unhappy, all those sorts
Yeah,
of
kind
things,
of
right?
in your head, you're getting this picture of what this person might be like in their life.
Yeah. And so then now it's time for the detectives to start asking
Yes.
some questions, right?
And like you said, so detectives, they don't just kind of ask things that are related to the crime.
Right.
They have these little cards that they have to help them out. I think they're fresh detectives, and
Yeah.
they're kind of new. And so I draw one of these cards,
Yeah.
and in this case, do they have tattoos? And that's the question I would ask you. So,
Right.
do they have tattoos?
So now I can't say anything other than to push forward one of these or to put it up, and I'm gonna
Right.
say, for example, based on my intimate knowledge of the actual thief, I'm gonna say, yes, they do.
Okay. So as a detective, now my job is to look at all of our suspects, and I try to figure out who I want to let go free.
So you're going to try to find not the thief so much as the innocent people that you're
Right.
sending home. You're off the hook.
Exactly. I know the guilty person has tattoos, so I want to keep them here.
Yes.
I want to keep everyone who I think has tattoos, I want to keep them in the lineup until I can eliminate or not eliminate them later.
Right.
So in this case, I would take a look here and I would say, I'd feel pretty safe with saying, this lady, she looks like a very nice kind of grandmother
Yes.
type of figure, and I feel like she probably doesn't have tattoos.
I guess you haven't met my grandmother, but
Well,
okay,
yeah.
sure.
So, I mean,
Right.
grandmothers can have tattoos,
Yeah.
but I feel like just for me,
Yes.
she's probably no ink,
Right.
right?
Right.
So normally you would take a poll of the table.
Right, because you have multiple detectives
Yeah,
potentially, right?
yeah, and as long as there's a majority that agrees that character, you would then flip it over. So I'm going to go ahead and flip her over, and it's at this point that I hope for no reaction.
Right, because if I speak up, if I say, no, you've just eliminated the thief, you sent home the actual criminal, then you've lost. The table
Yep.
is lost. It's fully cooperative, right?
Right.
But if I don't say anything, then you've sent home someone innocent.
Yes. So.
And you can keep going, right?
Yeah. So you have to eliminate at least one suspect
Per question.
Yes,
Yeah,
per
okay.
question. However, I could keep going. So I could say, maybe this guy, he just is not old enough for tattoos, right?
Right.
Maybe he's still in high school, so all of my other detectives agree with me, so I'd flip him over. And then I could just keep going.
And again, no reaction, right? We continue. And it's very important, the witness is not allowed to give any verbal cues or signals. Really, the only thing I do is that. You know, until I speak up and say you lost, right?
Yeah, and then we say, well, you're the worst witness ever. Because you should have
How could
really
you
helped
lead us
out on
down
that one,
How
right?
could you lead us
Like,
down there? Yeah.
how did you know that
I'll
we let
speak
the... Right, it's like, you shouldn't have told us that
It
before.
just came back to me.
Right,
I remember their face
that was the
perfectly.
person.
Yeah.
So,
But we also have a score pad here, right? Because when the detectives are finished, when they're like, okay, we don't want to send anyone else home based on what we know so far. We're ready to stop, right? Now it's time to sort of collect some scoring here.
Yes.
So it looks like you'd write in here, suspect eliminated. So let's say you eliminated 2.
Yes.
Right? So you could write a 2 in here, and you multiply it by the question number.
Yeah. So in that case, it'd be 2.
Right.
And then the further you go down, the more points you actually get.
So there is an incentive to send as many home as soon as possible, right?
Yes.
Because later on, if I'm sending 3 away on question 4, it's now 3 times 4, that's 12 points.
Right.
And we're trying to get the lowest.
Lowest score, right.
Right.
So, and that's kind of we put that there because some people like to have scores, you know, to their games, which is fine.
Yeah.
But it also works as just a great kind of fun party game where you're not really keeping score.
Right, you don't even have to use this at all if you don't want to,
like
right? Yeah.
for most of the games we do, it's just kind of like we break it out. It's a fun thing with a big group. We don't keep score and just kind of keep going and going.
Well, we were playing last night as a group. There was an event put on with a bunch of tables of people playing, and we were just trying to win.
Yes.
Like we were just trying to play. We played like 4 times in a row. Just we weren't worried about the score. Can we just actually find the thief? Because it'd be quite challenging once you get down to the last 2 or 3 people. Because the way you win is by eliminating everyone except for the thief on the table,
right.
and then you've won. The
yeah,
game,
and that
right?
and it can be tough because you're doing 2 things. You're really reading everyone at the table, right? Especially the witness, because you have to figure out how do they read people? Like what
do I think the witness thinks?
Yeah. And then you're also with all the other detectives, you're kind of like, okay, well, you get into these fun conversations where it's just like, well, no, like he's a cop, so he wouldn't have tattoos. And like, well, no, that cop might have been in the military, so I bet he has tattoos, right? So it's like people have created all these crazy fun stories for these people, just out of the kind of the clear blue, right? Yeah. And there's a lot of good table talk, except for the witness, who just sits there and either lets the witness.
But I find a lot of times when we played, people want to be the witness.
Oh,
right? Like they jump in. I want to be the one now giving the clues.
Yeah.
And we should point out there's actually a lot more people in the game than what we're just seeing here, right? There's a whole deck of them.
Yeah, we have a whole deck of different kind of potential suspects here that, you know, from all different types of clothes and walks of life that, you know, can really just create a lot of stories.
Sure, every time you play, it's going to be a totally different mix of characters.
Exactly, and we've done it where we've kind of like, okay, especially if you're kind of what you're talking about, where you're playing games over and over, you kind of eliminate all those suspects. And you're like, okay, let's go to the rest of the deck, so you see who's kind of out there. And then there's
loads of questions. Right?
Yeah, there's so many questions.
There's over 100 at least in there.
Yeah,
right?
there's tons of questions here. And then there's actually turns out there's blank cards.
Yes.
Where you can do those 2 ways. You could either write in your own questions if your group has that, or just make up one on the fly.
Right.
When you flip
where
it
the
over.
detectives suddenly do have a will of their own, right?
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
Like maybe they've graduated and they're like, oh, we've thought of our own question. Like, did they commit the crime?
A question still within the a question still within the spirit of the game.
Right,
though, right?
exactly. So yeah, we kind of have that little. We try to make it so there's tons of replayability.
Yeah.
You're not seeing the same people in the same organization all the time, the same questions. So
now you said this was a party game. So how many people will this accommodate?
Up to 16.
Okay, so that's quite a few.
Yeah,
right?
it's a good number.
I mean, you really could have infinite number of people.
You really
playing,
could, yeah.
But you probably want people to have meaningful interaction around.
Yeah,
the
it's
table,
kind of
right?
the finding the table, right?
Yeah.
That will let 16 people gather around. And
the table size is your limit.
It kind of becomes like pretty raucous because you get into it, right?
Yeah.
You get a lot of people who are just like, because it has that majority thing, so you get people arguing about like these, right? And then there's the cheering when you actually do solve it. And
when is this coming out?
It comes out in November.
Okay.
Yeah.
So November 2016.
Yep.
Should be seeing it on shelves,
Yep.
hopefully, right? And how long would you say it takes to play the game, typically?
I mean, it's about a 15-minute game.
Yeah, I would say that would line up to what I've
Yeah, I mean,
experienced,
I've had
15,
it
20
last
minutes,
about a minute or 2.
Sure, if you lose quickly,
right?
it's
we
over.
eliminated the suspect in the first turn, and but I would say 15 minutes.
Sure.
It's a quick game, so it really does a good job between bigger games, or if you're just kind of looking for a light game to play throughout the night.
Sure.
So.
Well, Jared, thank you. I think that's a pretty good overview. I think hopefully people have a good sense of how the game works. Thanks for sharing it with us.
Oh, you're welcome.
And to the rest of you, of course, until the next episode, thanks for watching.